Based Audio, or my Facebook page, Pipeline Audio. Um, Trying this TikTok stuff again. We'll see. But the problem is you can't see my screen, so you see my stupid face. Nobody wants to see my stupid face. So I'm begging for a TikTok stream key. So far, no luck. I just downgraded my restream, so I'm just doing the free one for right now. I might do a standard or something to get more channels on, but I should just be concentrating on one channel anyway. And, let's see. So at least I'm glad to see you guys here. I can't believe how many people TikTok finds. It's actually pretty cool. If you haven't been on my stuff before, mostly talk about myths, audio myths, not wasting your money on junk you don't need for recording studio stuff. A lot of guitar stuff lately. I don't mean to, but it's just been more and more guitar junk to talk about. So let me. Okay, so we're going. I'm just making sure my other stream's going. Most people are watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. I used to do this on Twitch too. I think. Thinking about getting a Instagram or whatever. I don't know. Does Instagram have stream keys? I used to have a way to broadcast the Instagram, but it's just gross. So, anyway, I'll be starting this in a second. All right, welcome to Evidence-Based Audio Engineering and Education, and this is number 198, and calling it Asserted Without Evidence, Dismissed Without Evidence. Hi, Gary Wilson. So first thing I want to show you, and sorry you guys that are on TikTok, you can't see my screen because they don't give me a stream key yet. Actually, first thing I want to talk about is Glenn Fricker over at Spectre Studios. You guys know who it is. If you don't, just type in stupid text from musicians to engineers. You'll find Glenn Fricker's channel. He has a ton of stuff about recording, what products to avoid, what products to buy. He does a lot of stuff about guitars, mixing. Every once in a while, he has me and Ethan Weiner on for an audio myth busting series. He did a cross promotion where he was giving away some of his courses and some of his this thing called Savage Grooves, which you really want probably. It's just a set of multi-track recordings, piles of them, so you can actually practice mixing and testing things. We use it for testing our plugins. He was giving that away, and one of his courses, progressive metal or progressive rock recording course, and he did a cross promotion with us on his channel, and we have gotten so many new customers. It's absolutely nuts. And so if you guys are watching for the first time, you're a new AIX DSP customer. I'm here all the time. I barely sleep. I can usually get up on the computer and do a live stream with you if need be, if you can't figure out something. But I never had so much email and tech support in my life. And I hear you guys are saying that you really want to have some compressor presets. And in the pro audio world, usually, hey, it said Chastity. Usually people say they don't want presets on EQs and compressors. It couldn't do you any possible good. But I think that's wrong. So we're gonna be adding some presets. We'll see if we can get some celebrity presets in here too. We probably will for Intuition compressor. Hey Brittany. Hopefully we already do have presets on drum EQ and multiband gate. Again, these are just starting points, but Intuition compressor is kind of complicated. I could see them wanting some basic setups, and it's going to get a lot more complicated, honestly. So that's important to think about. So anyway, let's I just want to say thank you to all you guys, the new guys in Discord. Maybe if you're on Discord right now, you might be watching the show on Discord. I've got a Discord chat up so I can see if you guys type. So let me know there. It actually carries over to Restream. Hey, life's a journey. Man, wow, God, TikTok gets so many people on here. That's awesome. So what was I saying about? I'm thankful to Glenn for that, and I'm really happy to see all you new guys in here. And I didn't expect the kind of response we got, so I've been pretty crazy busy. But it's awesome to see you guys using our stuff and to see the value in it, especially if you're mixing drums, right? But we're gonna move on to a lot more products that are for everybody. In fact, like our iconic reverb. I don't think our marketing guys are going to want me saying this, but I wasn't really ready to let that thing out. Um, but it looks like a lot of people like using it, and man, it's so it's another one. I'll probably do some live videos where we're using Iconic, and I'll talk about it. Okay, so first of all, there's this company GPU Audio, and they've got a free beta suite out right now. I think it's just some modulation plugins. They got an early access thing, but you talk about what this is. As far as I can tell, says that GPU Audio was established in Freiburg, Switzerland, to create a brand new sound processing workflow. Our mission is to provide musicians, music producers, and audio engineers with more creative freedom and save their precious time. Our international team brings cutting-edge level developments in various fields of digital audio processing, and we're happy to speed up your music software products. Okay, that's just the, that's the blurb, right? But what it really is GPU Audio is a digital sound processing platform that unlocks a standard GPU to handle audio production with next-gen performance capabilities. Compatible with the VST3 standard as well as custom software, GPU Audio dramatically enhances performance by offloading processing from a computer's CPU to its GPU. Okay, so this isn't totally new. I mean, we know like Universal Audio has been on a video card since forever. But, while you're mixing your audio, you got that, especially if you got like a gaming computer or something, you've got that super fast graphics processing engine just sitting there. So why not use why not use this? Okay, hold on. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. See, when you do live. Um, okay, so basically this GPU Audio guys, they've got your they're using the GPU, the graphics processing unit, to run your plugins to save you some CPU time. But that's something we're going to talk about. CPUs have gotten pretty fast. I don't know that I'm really limited by my CPU anymore the way we used to be, but and there used to be some problems moving this. Like CUDA is another format. Let me pull that up real quick. CUDA VST. Let's just say. So there was there's not much left for it. Interesting. So CUDA was another way of trying to offload VST plugins or whatever to your graphics processor. But it's a good idea. Let's see how this goes. So if you guys want to go, just go to gpu.audio and maybe sign up for the early access, grab the beta suite, and try them out. Yeah, so they say affordability, unlimited power, instant results, and creative freedom without having to buy into expensive, slow to update DSP hardware platforms. Just use your GPU. Low latency and instant results. 1 millisecond buffer standardized for VST3 use, regardless of instant count. That's pretty nuts. 150 microseconds buffer for custom software. Thousands of GPU cores to render your audio in real time. So go check it out. Let me shut up this noise real quick. Sorry. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is, and this is the title of this episode, Dismissed Without Evidence. So this is from Safe Space. They give a this is just some I don't even know if this is like a advertisement or what. It's everything they write sounds like an ad. It says sponsored by the Trans Audio Group, so who knows. So this is a title called "Getting It Right at the Source with DACing Audio Preamps" by Diogo C. Whoever that is. Let's see what I kind of see if this is mostly fluff. Hold on, that this person writes, if it shows up. Diogo C. Studio. I don't know who this is. Sorry, this is a reviews editor. Um, so DACing is a name that you guys are probably really familiar with. They make mic preamps. A lot of people swear by them. And I just want to show, this is, everybody has this belief in these magical mic preamps and things. But let's just talk about it. So talk a little bit about who he is. He was deeply rooted in music, living in New York during the 60s and going to some of the greatest shows and jazz acts, from Thelonious Monk to Jimi Hendrix. Sparked a flame that set him on a lifetime musical path. He used to be a drummer with the Blues Magoos and recording engineer that included Meatloaf and James Brown. And Jeff always knew what sounded good. In 1993, when he first started making analog gear, he thought why modern recording equipment often sounded worse than vintage gear. So there's a claim right there. But, it could be that he thought that it sounded worse than what he was used to, maybe. Might have been clearer, might have been better, He identified the leading cause as poor cost-quality ratios. What does that even mean? People were willing to spend a fortune on some of this new gear, so I don't know. He then focused in on what could be done about it. Jeff's solution was to form his own manufacturing company called Dacking Audio. So he made, these mic preamps. One question: why not simply recreate vintage gear? Well, why would you? You're making a claim. Again, I know we're going to say this a million times, but you can measure this stuff. So what's the problem? Frequency response, distortion, noise, bandwidth. What was the problem? So he says, why not simply recreate vintage gear? For starters, it's expensive, especially as there is a shortage, or in many cases, a total lack of original components due to parts long out of production. So here's another religious thing here, right? These people believe that there's this special material that some things could be made out of, and you just couldn't do things any other way because you don't have this special material. You hear guitar players talk about this crap all the time. Maybe a germanium transistor or something. Who knows? But it's not true. You can build better stuff now than you could back then. Also, the component most often compromised in modern mic preamps is the most expensive one, the transformer. They form the bridge between the microphone and the preamp, providing gain with ideally low noise and properly isolating the circuitry from the ground, ensuring that hum and other unwanted noise gets left out of the signal. Now, I think George Massenburg proved you can perfectly make a input without a transformer, right? I'm pretty sure the Massenburg stuff doesn't have transformers. It's like direct coupled, I think. Dacking employs legendary Jensen transformers on all their preamps. Now, I'm a Jensen transformer nut. If I'm going to have a transformer mic preamp or especially direct box, you used to be able to just order straight from them, this JTDBE direct box, and just build a nice direct box. And, it's good enough, and it's not that expensive. It's like $100 back then, maybe. I think you can probably do without a transformer better with an active DI, but then you need to power it and stuff. That Jensen, what do I got? I got right here, right? Let's see. Sorry. So you guys on TikTok, you can see this. This is a radial JDI. This is a direct box to the Jensen transformer, and I use it every day. I'm just as happy to use my non-Jensen transformers because they're still pretty damn good. So anyway, Dacking designs use Class A circuitry to achieve the lowest possible distortion. Remember back in the day, I was a big Class A nut. I don't really, it seems like when you measure it, you can't really tell. So I don't know. To achieve the lowest possible distortion, and they take advantage of discrete amplifiers instead of integrated circuits for more headroom. I don't know if that's true, that you're actually going to have more headroom by using a discrete component. But remember back in the day, the whole religion was discrete Class A, discrete Class A. Nowadays, I think it's really more about measure it. Is it reach the threshold of audibility? Then worry about it. If not, toss it. Let's see. Fundamentally, the principle of Dacking ethos is a combination of time-tested designs, modern-day production methods, top-quality components, and efficient American manufacturing. Yeah, I like that last one. But, really. Oh, what am I doing wrong? I got something messing up my mouse. Sorry. I think I'm pressing on something with on my Intuos pad. There we go. Sorry. All right. So he says it all starts with a microphone preamp. Let's see. So what do people want from an all-purpose mic pre? Loads of quiet, noise-free gain, ample headroom, and fidelity to the source. You know, it's funny because people always say they want fidelity to the source, and then they want something warm, or they want something transparent, or musical, or whatever. Fidelity to me, like Ethan Weiner says, we measure it: noise, distortion, time-based errors, frequency response, and bandwidth. And again, frequency response and bandwidth aren't exactly the same thing. Frequency response is how flat are you in the bandwidth, which is how, you know, what frequency can you start from, what frequency can you end on, and reproduce. So slightly different things. So this is a 20 to 75 dB gain, 12 dB per octave high pass filter that goes up to 200 hertz. 4 buttons, polarity flip, 20 dB pad, 48 volt phantom power, digitally controlled LED meter. So you talk about all this stuff, you know, all these things about what this mic preamp, why it's so transparent, so high definition, so probably you're going to say warm or something like that. It's always weasel words. But, you know, the point is, just show us the specs. Do a sweep of this mic preamp and do a sweep of some mic preamp that's supposed to be a piece of crap or whatever, and see if they're different. The one thing you're not going to see in this article is any actual data of what the thing does. You know, what is it? How flat is this thing? What's the bandwidth? And show me the test. Show me a graph. Best thing to do, since you guys are always talking crap about whatever mic pre's come on these Focusrite interfaces or whatever, do a head-to-head comparison. Just show the graphs, show the measurements between these two things: noise, distortion, bandwidth, and frequency response. And let's see. And there could be some other parameters. You guys love to talk about jitter, but yeah, but that's what's missing, right? We don't have any data here, so that's why I say if you're going to assert it without evidence, I can dismiss it without evidence. Is that Christopher Hitchens' razor? Maybe that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. Or, you know, some people say it's hard to argue somebody out of a position that they didn't have, or no amount of evidence will convince somebody of the falsity of a proposition if they didn't use any evidence to get it in the first place. I'm not so sure that's true. But anyway, this is it. No evidence shown. I'm going to dismiss it without evidence. If you guys want to record something, it's not going to be your Focusrite mic preamps that's going to hold you back from making hits. So don't worry about it. Just go do some recording. And if something's really broken, you know, you can measure it, and I'm happy to tell you. All right. Next thing here. Somebody brought in I think it's called a djembe, like a big old band drum they donated here to the school, and one of our teachers is playing with it. This looks pretty fun. Okay, so we talked about this a bunch of times. Dawbench kept saying that they were going to do some tests on the M1. Apple CPU versus the Intel CPUs and versus Windows performance and whatever. If you guys don't know who Dawbench is, they're the ones who publish. Well, they make a set of tests that you can do yourself. You can actually test your latencies and how many plugins you can run at a specific latency, and how your CPU stacks up to another CPU. Been kind of down for a little while. If you guys are watching this, let me pull up a Dawbench graph. Bench. So you used to be able to download these tests, and I don't know if it's actually showing right now. And then you could actually see the results of what these things got, like how many plugins could you run at what latency at on different audio interfaces. And surprise, 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 RME always comes out on top, right? But that's what Dawbench is. They're very meticulous, very science-based way of testing this stuff. All right, so we've been waiting for them. They talked about testing the M1 because everybody wants to know how the M1 is doing. So let me just read this to you. So this is from December 1st. Because Apple M1 is x86 part 1. x86 is the architecture like your Intel CPUs and stuff. It says, following up on my post from July, where did that 4 months go, where I outlined the ongoing work regards collating comparative performance data between the M1 and the x86 in a DAW environment. I have decided to share the data I have, though not complete. It will give a good snapshot of how the comparative performance is playing out under my DAW bench testing environments. So you guys know when this M1 came out, just like whenever any Apple product comes out, the Apple cultists absolutely just go nuts and tell you how everything else is a complete piece of junk and always has been and yada yada. You know how it goes with the Apple stuff. But I got an M1. I needed an Apple for testing. They sent me a MacBook Pro, a piece of crap. Sorry, I'm to digress a little bit, but this thing's got like no ports. You got to plug adapters and hubs into it. It's got like a phone charger for the charger's tiny little screen. Costs a fortune. Didn't come with any hard drive space really or RAM, but whatever. That's what people are running. We got to make sure our stuff runs on that stuff. So, as noted in the first post, the M1 data has been provided by trusted high-end users of the Mac M1. This is to ensure the testing is being done by people in their native environment. I did this to negate any concerns of the data being compromised by testing being carried out by testers where Mac OS is not their primary platform. DawBench DSP INT. I'm not sure which one this is. This is a session that was specifically created using only native plugins within Reaper, negating any chance of a third-party plugin causing any compatibility question marks. We ensured Reaper was running in a native M1. INT is in reference to internal plugins. So that's probably going to mean like ReXComp and things like that. If you don't know, I don't want to put too many disclaimers in here, but so basically there's Rosetta, which is like a translation environment, Rosetta Stone, so that you could run stuff that was meant to run on the Intel chips on the new M1 stuff until the manufacturers get their M1 stuff going in. By the way, AIX DSP's plugins are all M1 native, but you could run them in Rosetta too, except for maybe No DQ, but I think that could change today or tomorrow. So I know they're working on No DQ right now. Says, I included 3 generations of Intel 10X, 12K, and 13K. What do I have? I got like a 10 on this CPU I'm talking to you on right now, right? Well, I think it's a 10700K. Two generations of AMD, 5K, 7K, Apple Mac Pro Xeon 12 core, so that'd be the Intel version, M1, M1 Max, and M1 Ultra. Graph is a little irregular as I place the CPU with the lowest to highest results at 512 in order, which shifts a little at respective latency. So 512, 512 buffers for latency. i.e. 13900K is actually higher performing in latencies 64 to 256 over the 7950X, but the graphs give a clear view of the overall comparative results. And 512 is not a bad thing to check it on, unless you're on a really slow thing. I mean, 256 is where I want to be on a Focusrite. I could actually handle 512 on an RME or something. As evidenced in the results, the lower M1 models, M1, M1 Max, are clearly outpaced by the Windows x86 solutions on this test, as well as the Mac Pro 12C at 128 to 512. What is the Pro 12C? Oh, that's the Xeon. So the Intel Mac. And look, I'm not going to be super surprised. I am surprised by how little CPU these things use, how long the battery can last and stuff. And I haven't run into something that's taxed my CPU. It's taxed my GPU. Everybody's saying, oh, you don't need a video card with an M1. Yeah, you do. This stuff didn't run for crap on the MVP's M1 video card. But in terms of a DAW, I never ran into a performance bottleneck, so it felt plenty fast enough for me. But I didn't have any reason to think it's going to be any faster than a good Intel, and this is what it seems to be showing. So he says, and of course, this is where you get into the cultists, right? This is in contrast to the majority of other reports across multiple tech sites, including music tech sites, where there were hysterical claims of absolute dominance of even the base M1 over anything being powered by the x86 CPUs. And if you've been watching this thing, you've seen this. Like, these guys are absolutely screaming from the hilltops that the M1 completely dominated every Intel ever made, and it's just so fast. Even the cheapest, crappiest one on battery power, and it's just not. Obviously, it wasn't going to be true, but they were claiming it, and but it's not telling you not to get an M1 because it is really good, I think. All right, so the M1 Ultra scales almost exactly double to the M1 Max, landing at around mid-pack with the 5950X. That's an AMD processor, already clearly outperformed by the 13900K Intel and the 7950X AMD. Now we need to make a note that there are core differences between the three architectures, and there really isn't a direct head-to-head with the above chips, as the AMD systems don't use hybrid cores, and the M1 does not deploy the processing into the hyper-threading SMT-styled execution. Both Intel and Apple deploy hybrid performance and economy cores, Intel's E-core having more performance than the Apple E-cores from my understanding, which have very minimal processing power. The Intel E-cores are utilized in multiprocessor DAW application once the P-cores begin being saturated, whereas the Apple M1 E-cores are not, so the closest head-to-head would be the AMD 5950, 7950X. All chips have 16 performance cores. So this is getting kind of complicated on how the multi-core system works, but if you ever followed along DAW Bench, you would know that there's a lot of problems with multi-core not really doing what you think it's going to do. So we always recommend whatever you're getting. Sorry. Get the fastest single core speed you can handle because, or that you can afford, because that's where it's really going to make a difference, especially on low latency applications. But again, maybe if that GPU audio does that stuff, and maybe we'll go to GPU. We could, right? All right, so let's continue on here. The DSP test is more dependent on IPC core count, and the results scales of those parameters pretty accurately. The M1 is said to have a better IPC. I'm not sure what IPC is. Than the x86 variants, but the x86 variants have significantly higher clock speed, so overall performance is shown to favor the x86. No surprises there. Yeah, no surprises to us maybe, but not to the Apple cultists. Either the M1 finds significantly higher clocks in the later iterations, or this position isn't going to change significantly. The M2's reported IPC improvements will not bring it up to par. DAW Bench 6 versus Contact. This session was created using the standard DAW Bench 6 section, but was amended to ensure that the Contact instances were native M1 versions. Okay, so this is where rubber hits the road here. Unfortunately, I was not able to secure test results for the lower end M1 Max or Mac Pro for this test, and I wanted to share these results pre-Christmas with the to-do list of adding more of the M1 results in the future, when I can get the individual test systems environments again. Having the M1 Ultra results can give us a good indication of how the top-tier platform performs against the Windows x86 options, and there's an interesting variable evident regarding the scaling performance across the mid-latencies, which shows the dependency on this test on memory performance, more so than bandwidth and speed, and also cache performance, in my opinion. I know this all sounds like technical mumbo-jumbo, but in general, when you're using things like Contact, which is a sampler, a sample player, they do use CPU, but it's the memory, because you're dumping the stuff from disk, right? You're playing back samples which are stored in memory. So memory performance is super important there. And I'm not sure how fast the M1 memory. I don't know how fast my memory is actually. All I know is it's fast enough. I mean, computers are so fast now anyway. Okay, so he says, this is evidenced by the performance of the X299 with the quad channel memory and the DDR5 powered Intel 12K and 13K and the AMD 7K. The M1 does get swamped at the higher 512 latency value, but at 128, 256, it shows impressive performance. Not sure what happened at 64 samples, though. Overall, the performance shows the M1 architecture is very strong in memory cache performance. Lacking some clock at the higher end to stay with the x86 variants. So to summarize, the M1 is certainly showing some good overall performance once placed in the perspective with respective clock core configurations, but it isn't dominant over x86 for DAW applications as some would have you believe. These tests are in no way conclusive across respective working session environments, and there is still plenty of gray regarding native compatibility and optimization of the application plugins, etc. But they do fly in the face of the hysterical reports I have been seeing and reading about for the last 12 months or so. Of course, take all the above with a few grains of salt. Your mileage may vary. Helmet, goggles, gloves, and BioSeed at the ready. Like I say, I see pretty good performance from even my bottom of the barrel M1, but I don't know what the proposed mechanism even would have been for this thing to do all this magical stuff. I know it's an ARM processor, so it's more like a graphics, like a GPU than a CPU, but we're pretty good at making CPUs. So I'm gonna click on this so people can see the results. You're not gonna be able to see on TikTok, but looking at a contact bench test, bench 6 contact test, and they're saying the additional polyphony, how do you say that? More is better, obviously. At 512 millisecond sample rate, the Intel 13K just absolutely smokes the board with it. And the AMD 7950X is up there. So we're saying like 10,000 notes or whatever. There's 10,320 on the Intel 13K, 139K, whatever. And the AMD 7950 is at more than 8,000. I mean, this is all super fast. Intel's below that. Let me see where the Apple shows up. So the fastest Apple is way below. It shows up somewhere below where this desktop I'm doing right now. Not too bad. 6,800. I mean, still tons. It's still going to be more than you need. Don't have the so the AMDs are below that, but the AMD 5950 is actually below that at 512. So it's beating that. It's not going to hang with the Intel stuff though. Interesting. At 256, Intel still wipes the board with it, but second place goes to that M1 Ultra. So that's pretty interesting. And at 128, the M1 Ultra actually beats the Intel. And that's interesting, right? At 64, forget it. Intel's back on top again. So I'm not sure what happened there. I wonder if something funny is going on because, boy, this thing was doing crappy. But, there's a drastic drop in performance at the lower latencies on the Intel. So, and interestingly, the AMD wasn't dropping quite as bad. But, yeah, we have, hey, Brad Porter. Yeah, interesting. So at 128, this guy's winning, and when you're down at 64, the Intels are back on top. That's interesting. But so that's something to think about. Interesting. I don't know if there's some kind of fluke here, but it's almost like you expect this video card performance stuff. It has strong performance at lower latencies. Interesting. So let me go back, but again, Intel's still on top. Let's go to the internal test. So this is probably going to run how many times can you run a re-XComp? And in this case, this is a mixing thing. This isn't running super low latencies, but it looks like the two Intels, the 13900 is beating most of it, but the AMD 7950X, and I think this is because it has so many cores. Let me see what the AMD 7950X has 16 cores. And what is the Intel? Let's see, Intel 3900K. What does it have? 24 cores. Interesting. So 8 performance cores and 16 efficient cores. Okay, so there you go. That's the E-core, P-core performance. the AMD is probably all like the performance cores, so it's winning on the when multiple cores actually count. This is 512 buffers. Probably nothing's armed for live input. But when we go down to 256, I should say the Apple Mac Pro is pretty far down there. The M1 Max actually looks pretty low as well. So the M1 is at the very bottom of this number of Rex comps you can run. And I'm sure they're going to go, well, you should see it in Logic, but you can't run Logic on Windows, so you can't do an apples to apples comparison. Ha ha ha. 256, the Intel pulls slightly ahead, but again, the AMD's really hanging in there. And again, the M1 is at the bottom. But here's the thing: at 256, the M1 only lost one instance, but we're talking about 150 instances versus the Intel's 581 instances. So it's a huge performance difference there. The M1 Ultra is like half of what the Intel could do. But let's see, where's mine at here? Did they do a 10? No, they didn't. So no, there it is. 189 XE. Yeah, the Intel's still better, actually, kind of by a lot. But it's interesting. So at 128 buffers, the slowest M1 only lost one instance of EXComp. And at 64, it only lost from the very top. So the difference in number of Rex comps that the M1 could run at 512 versus 64 buffers is only 6 lefts. That's shocking. That's actually some pretty badass performance. Of course, 150 sucks, man. I mean, compared to even the cheaper Intels and stuff. I mean, this is horrible performance, but it's neat that the latency doesn't affect it as much as you might think. And across the board, the M1 Max, the Pro 12C, they just do poorly compared to the Intels and stuff. Less than half of what the Intels can do. So that's we finally got some numbers. And coming from Dawbench, I think you can really trust them. So there's your M1 update. And I think you guys been waiting for a long time for that. And there's a little bit of comments, not much. I guess we should do some more on this. But that's about all I got for today. I had some Reddit reading stuff, but I think you guys are going to get bored of that. And I think you need to go find some Christmas turkey. I'll see you guys next week. And hopefully